Hello everyone. Welcome to Stories on Night. Today we are going to listen a story about a man who is driving his car and going somewhere at midnight. Then some strange things happen to him which we going to know in the story. So, put your headphones for better experience and let's start the story. He howled through the desolate landscape, creating an eerie symphony of haunting whispers. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long, sinister shadows across the highway. James, a weary traveler, found himself alone on this seemingly endless stretch of road, his car's engine sputtering to a halt. Midnight had descended, and an overwhelming sense of isolation enveloped him. His heart raced as he peered out into the darkness. The headlights of passing cars had long vanished, leaving him surrounded by an inky void. A sense of foreboding settled over James, like a heavy shroud. He grabbed his phone, only to find no signal. Swallowing hard, he knew he had to find help, even if it meant venturing into the unknown. Stepping out of the car, James closed the door behind him. The chill of the night air gnawed at his bones, and he zipped his jacket up to his neck. He glanced around, trying to make out any sign of civilization. All he could see was the highway stretching out before him, disappearing into the distance like an endless abyss. With cautious steps, James began to walk along the edge of the road. Every rustle of leaves, every distant sound, sent shivers down his spine. He could feel eyes on him, unseen and malevolent. His footsteps echoed in the silence, the only sound in this desolate realm. As he walked, the shadows seemed to dance and contort, playing tricks on his mind. Was that a figure lurking just beyond the tree line? Or merely a trick of his imagination? He quickened his pace, his heart pounding in his chest. The trees seemed to close in on him, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. A faint glimmer of light appeared in the distance. James' pulse quickened, hope surging within him. As he drew closer, he realized it was a roadside diner, its neon sign flickering ominously. The building stood as a lone beacon of life in this otherwise dead landscape. Pushing open the creaking door, James entered the diner. The interior was dimly lit, the air heavy with the scent of stale coffee. A bell above the door jingled softly, announcing his arrival to the lone figure behind the counter. "Evening," the old man said, his voice raspy and tired. "What brings you out here at this hour?" James explained his predicament, his words tumbling out in a rush. The old man nodded, his eyes gleaming with a knowing glint. "You're not the first to find yourself stranded on this highway," he said cryptically. "Bad things happen here after dark." James' unease deepened, but he dismissed the old man's words as mere superstition. He asked for a phone to call for help, and the old man obliged, pointing him to a dusty payphone in the corner. As James dialed the number, the line crackled with static. He strained to hear the voice on the other end, but the words were distorted and unintelligible. Frustration welled up within him, and he slammed the receiver down. Turning back to the counter, James froze. The old man was gone. Panic seized him as he scanned the diner, his heart thundering in his chest. The door swung open and shut, the bell jingling, but there was no sign of the old man. A sense of dread settled over James as he stumbled outside. The diner's neon sign buzzed and flickered, casting an eerie glow over the deserted highway. He felt an overwhelming urge to run, to escape this nightmarish place. But his car was still there, stranded and silent. He reached the car and fumbled for his keys, his hands trembling. As he opened the door and slid into the driver's seat, a chilling realization washed over him. The keys were already in the ignition. He hadn't put them there. A guttural scream echoed through the night as James' heart raced. He slammed the door shut, locked it, and glanced around wildly. The highway stretched out before him, empty and haunting. And then he saw it, a figure standing in the distance, shrouded in darkness. His breath caught in his throat as he stared at the figure, paralyzed with fear. It was the old man from the diner, his eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. The old man beckoned to James, his bony finger curling in a beckoning gesture. James knew he had to make a choice, stay in the safety of his car or confront the source of his terror. With a surge of determination, he stepped out of the car and began to walk toward the figure. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it haunting whispers that seemed to echo in James' mind. The old man's voice resonated in the air, filling James with a chilling certainty. You're stuck here, just like all the others who came before you. The highway claims its victims, one by one. James' heart raced as he approached the old man. His voice trembled as he spoke. What do you want from me? The old man's lips curled into a sinister smile. Your fear, your desperation, they sustain me. You're trapped in my domain now. As the old man's words hung in the air, James felt a surge of anger and defiance. He wouldn't let fear control him any longer. With every ounce of strength he could muster, he shouted, "No, I won't be another victim. I won't let you feed on my terror." The old man's form wavered, his spectral figure beginning to fade. James continued to shout, his voice growing stronger with each word. And then, with a final burst of light, the old man vanished, leaving behind an empty highway. Breathing heavily, James stood alone on the deserted road. The wind had died down, and the moon bathed the landscape in an eerie glow. He had faced his deepest fears and emerged victorious. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, James made his way back to his car. The engine roared to life at his touch, and he drove away from the highway, leaving behind a darkness that had tried to consume him. And so, James' night of horror and suspense came to an end. He had confronted the malevolent force that sought to trap him, emerging from the ordeal stronger than ever before. But the memory of that night would forever linger, a reminder that even in the face of the unknown, the human spirit could triumph over the most chilling of terrors.